Good afternoon, everybody. How are you doing? And thank you for joining me. So today is a particularly exciting week for us. As many of you know, this is the week we release code and we make everybody aware of what we've built and how we've built it. So we are in the process right now of making our code public. You'll be able to find it at github.com/Sparkster-me. We are conducting essentially a final code review internally before pieces get released. So over the next several hours, you'll be seeing different parts of our project released. The first piece that will be released is the masternode. So if you want to see how we built the masternode and how the masternode works and how we arrive at consensus on blocks and how voting works securely inside of Sparkster's network and all of these lovely things that we've built, I recommend you take a look at the code, and I think that you'll be, you'll be very happy with what we've built. I am extremely proud of my team, our team. I'm extremely proud of them. They have built some incredible things, and being part of this process and working with them for me has been a true joy. And they've been very supportive, so I truly appreciate everything they've done. I think they've done excellent things. I'm very proud of the way things work. You know, in our network, we have 3 tiers of consensus. We have consensus at the transaction level. We have consensus at the block level. We have consensus in voting. And the methodologies that we've kind of implemented this consensus, I think is innovative. So yeah, you'll be able to see that very shortly. We are delivering code as promised. Now, it's important to note that this is not the production-ready version of our network. We are still undergoing testing and bug fixing and so forth. The network will not be deployed until the end of the year. We're publishing where we stand today in our functional testing, if you will. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. Another thing, a disclosure, we are considering selling some more ETH. It's important to know we haven't yet sold any more ETH. We're considering selling more ETH. It's important that I let you know that. And if and when we do, we shall let you know. What's driving our decisions, it's important to understand that what drives our decisions is very, very different from the decision-making structure that an investor would make. We're not making decisions from the perspective of how do we profit from this, or how do we take advantage of whatever's going on in the market, or anything like that. Quite the contrary, at least. It's a decision-making structure around risk management and strictly risk management. So the bulk, if you read our white paper, you'll see that the bulk of the funds that we've collected for growth. That growth includes acquiring customers and building sales teams and things like that, right? Building an infrastructure worldwide for this. So are we at a place where we need all that money today? We're not. But the reality is you conduct an ICO once, and in that process, you collect the funds that you'll need for the course of the project. So it's important to understand that we're not gripped by fear, and we don't make the same decision. We don't have the same decision-making structure that an investor would have. Essentially, we're looking at what's the time frame that we expect prices to be in a certain range. What's the probability of that? And so forth. And we collect data about this to make decisions about how much cash we'll need to fund that time frame. So it's a very, very different decision-making structure from an investor, because when we're not investors, right? This is essentially the cash that we will retain for building the company. So our decision-making structure is really based on data. It's based on a rational perspective, and we don't have any fear about the current market conditions because we see this as a short-term sort of situation. So yeah. I was also pleased that Ian this week, I think it was this week, released or essentially disclosed the projects to which he's an advisor, or the projects that have paid him for his advice. And you'll note that Sparkster was not listed there. And that's because, as we have always maintained, and he has maintained, his advice is not for sale. Well, I'm sorry, his opinion about a project is, his advice might be for sale, but his opinion about a project is not for sale. So we didn't purchase his opinion. I'm very glad that he put, you know, those rumors to rest by disclosing the projects that he is an advisor to. As he shows, Sparkster has not paid him anything for his endorsement. And also that ensures that we're in compliance too. And finally, before I take questions, so my week this week has been primarily focused on the code release this week. We've been reviewing stuff with the team and kind of going back and forth and so forth. So most of my time has been focused on the code review process. But it is also important to know that I'm now spending and have spent for the past 2 weeks a large part of my time involved in recruitment. And I'm going to be in Cambridge the middle of next week, conducting some interviews and meeting several people to potentially join our team. These are people that are essentially, I'm first starting with team leads. I'm starting with experienced senior developers, graduates of Cambridge University, essentially the best people in the world that we might be able to find to come and lead our teams at Sparkster. So, like I said, you know, our decisions are not gripped by fear. We're not slowing down our investment. The market isn't changing really very much here. We're hard at work and focused on delivering on the goals and the mission that we have always said that we will deliver. That being said, I think that's everything. So let's take some questions. Is Sparkster.me the organization on GitHub? It is github.com/Sparkster-me. Hope we have an organization account to make this look more serious. I believe we do, but if we don't, I believe we do. I believe that's how it's been set up. So any questions I might answer, please put them in the Telegram group, as that's where I'm taking questions from. So on Tuesday, this Tuesday that's coming up, I hope to have a Tech Tuesday that talks about the specific ways in which we've solved certain problems. Voting in particular, you know, so let me give you some background to the story with voting. So we'd originally talked about using Intel SGX for ensuring that the voting process is secure. It turns out that we at least have not found Intel SGX to be ready for prime time. It's not stable. So when we've done our own testing with SGX, we've not found SGX to be stable. So we've replaced SGX with something that uses signatures. And I will talk about that on Tuesday. You know, I think we've come up with something really good that doesn't require SGX, but provides significant security. A question, how is Sparkster team dealing with the SEC and all the mess around it? Well, we don't have any mess from the SEC. We've not heard from the SEC. You know, before we began this token sale, we engaged several legal firms. We spoke with one of the largest legal firms in this business in the United States. At that, I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, but Marco Santori was the lead counsel for their blockchain practice. So we spoke to them about this process. We spoke with the head of securities at Bird & Bird here in London about the process of you know, about running this token sale. We've sought advice from international lawyers before we began this process. And the decision that we arrived at, the kind of consensus between the different law firms that we arrived at, is that, you know, stay away from Americans. This is long before this became practice, right? When we started, you know, we excluded Americans probably before most other projects. I presume other projects now exclude Americans, but This was our practice from the very, very beginning. We've been absolutely clear and completely non-ambiguous about this. Americans cannot participate in any capacity in our token sale. If you live in America, even if you're from another country, but you're in America, if you're traveling in the United States while our token sale was going on, you could not participate in our token sale. So we don't have any American participation that we're aware of. If there are any Americans, they've entered our token sale fraudulently and against all of the legal disclosures and advice and everything else that we've possibly done to ensure that there are no Americans in our token sale. To give you an example of the lengths that we went to, we blocked people by IP address. So if you had an American IP address, you couldn't access our KYC page and therefore you couldn't participate in our token sale. The same was true for South Koreans, the same was true for the Chinese, the same was true for Iranians, Syrians, and a bunch of other countries, all disclosed in our white paper. So this is the reality. So do we see ourselves as being at meaningful risk? We don't, because at the end of the day, we've done everything we possibly can to be compliant. So Jota's asking, when can you guys test the no-code platform and use the no-code platform? So we'll have some announcements around this shortly. We're in the same process. We're in the final delivery testing of both environments. The team is split in two, working on two separate projects. So there'll be announcements made about this very shortly. Any other questions I can answer? So I've just received a notification that the masternode is now public. Go to github.com/sparkster-me, and you'll see the masternode. All the nodes are being made public this week. So once that, like I said, that final review is done, each project will be uploaded. The masternode is there right now. Any new feelings about the market conditions? I'm happy to share my feelings about the market conditions. It's important that you know that these are my own personal thoughts, and they in no way, shape, or form am I an advisor on how to manage your money. This is not financial advice. This is simply my own perspective on things. I'm a guy that, kind of observes things from the perspective of the technology that's created and the impact that that technology will have. I think that the two major projects, Bitcoin and Ethereum, are not going anywhere. In fact, I think that Ethereum has fundamentally disrupted the way that companies are funded. And I don't think that that's going to change. I think that once there is regulatory guidance and guidelines around this process, which is obviously important, I think we're going to see, that this is the way the projects get funded in the future. So I'm very bullish on the long-term perspective of the technology. I think it's going to add tremendous value to the world and allow a lot of people to participate in projects. I think today there's a lot of uncertainty. People are gripped by fear, and we're seeing that. And I can't tell you that I know where the bottom is. I have no idea. But I don't think we're done falling. I mean, that's my own opinion on the matter. But in terms of the long run, I think the long-term future is good. I think that there's meaningful, valuable technology, and that technology, so long as customers can be sought and problems solved in the real world, this is going to be the differentiator between projects that succeed long-term and those that don't. So an example of that, right? So Shabir spends all of his time on customer acquisition. He spends all of his time talking to people who might be users of our platform, people with specific problems that we might be able to, work with, do pilots with, to use the technology we're building. So in my personal perspective, is that those companies that are customer and revenue focused are the companies and the projects that will survive this. Those that are not won't survive this, although I could be wrong. And as a result, I'm making sure that we have concerted efforts, not just in development, but in customer acquisition, paying customer acquisition, of course. So it seems that. So Mike was saying it seems there are no tests published, no contribution guidelines, and so forth. So give us time. All this stuff will be published. This is day one, right? A lot of this stuff is coming. So Stefan's asking, we've got questions from the bounty community about when the bounty will end and what's holding us from doing so. What's holding us from doing so is the analyzing that decision from a data perspective and deciding what's the best thing to do. We just haven't had time to look at that particular decision. And so hopefully shortly, we'll provide some guidance on that. Will the code be directly managed on GitHub now that it's published? Or are we syncing it with internal repositories? No, we're syncing it with internal repositories. So we're developing internally, and then once we've have an internal release, that internal release will be published publicly. I appreciate the questions, Michael. Now, it should also be stated that we have a bug bounty. If you guys find bugs, if you have, if you have any insights on things that we could do better, there's always different ways of doing things. People will look at a project and say, I would have done this way, or I would have done this that way. We are very open to that sort of advice and that sort of constructive feedback. So please do give us feedback. We invite feedback on this stuff. If you find bugs, we have a bug bounty. So you'll earn you'll earn points for that, which will ultimately result in tokens. So please do share that with us. Eduardo wants to know, can you run a masternode with locked tokens? Yes, you can. You can run tokens. You can run a masternode with tokens locked, but you won't be rewarded for running at this point in time until the tokens are unlocked. You won't be rewarded for running a masternode. Any surprise partnerships or any other awesome announcements come before mainnet launch? Not before the mainnet launch is this year, so we're not making any major announcements this year. Hopefully we'll have some, very good announcements next year when we do make some decisions about the unlock process. Stefan wants to know when we can expect a new public TPS test. We'll let you know about that. You'll be able to observe, once the network is live, you'll be able to observe the real-time TPS of the network once in the Blockchain Explorer. Jota's asking, is the amount needed for a masternode still 100 to 150,000 Spark? The answer is yes, we haven't changed that. It's important to note that tokens are not integrated, of course, because we're not going live with tokens at this point in time. So that part has been removed from the project. That will be released when, essentially in the next iteration when we do integrate tokens. Man wants to know, when are we going to start voting to decide whether we unlock or not? Well, we're certainly not unlocking in 2018. As you can see, there's mayhem, and this is not the sort of fertile environment that you launch a token into, or a stable environment. I mean, it's not a good idea to launch a token when the market is gripped by fear, because for us as a project, that impacts participation. There is a benefit to us keeping tokens locked at this point in time. Not only does it protect our token holders from what's going on externally, but there's a lot of people that are talking about our project still. We're top of mind for many people. And I want to thank the FUDers, frankly, for continuing to FUD about Sparkster. We continue to put down any FUD that people come up with as nonsense, including the most recent FUD last week, which people have very, very quickly forgotten about. Thank you for keeping the conversation alive and keeping Sparkster at the top of people's minds. I appreciate all of the FUDers' efforts. Sometimes I wonder why FUDers spend so much time FUDing our project. The only conclusion I can arrive at is that they're funded by our competitors, but who knows? Who knows? Crypto FOMO says, great 2019. I hope so. I hope that 2019 is a lot better than 2018. I just don't know if it will be. It could be the case that we're in a, I think that the falling can't, how much further can we really fall, right? So I hope to find stability in 2019 early on, and that stability materialize into growth as regulatory guidelines comes out about running token sales and so forth. I think that once this sort of structure becomes available, I do hope to see a return to growth. Stefan is saying, don't let the FUDers get to my feet. We're here for you. I appreciate that. Sometimes it's hard, especially from people that are long-term supporters that FUD our project. And I understand that sometimes that those sentiments are driven not by us or what's going on in our project, but driven by the overall market sentiment. But truth be said, there are, our development team monitor the Telegram group, and it impacts morale sometimes. But I have to say that they don't tell me about it. I just sometimes see it on their faces. So, there is an impact. But there are two sides to that coin, right? There's, my job in keeping the team motivated, and the FUDers keeping awareness of our project alive. So Charlie Bit is asking, he has one question. Can I please tell you that despite all the FUD and bad news around the crypto market, that we and the team are 1,000% motivated and committed to the project. Some people like himself believe in me and the team very strongly, and he's a strong supporter. So yes, absolutely. I'm not only, I'm 1,000%, I have 1,000% belief in the project. I don't know about the market, right? I can't predict the future about what's going to happen to crypto. But what I can tell you is that we're certain that we're building products that help people. We're certain that we're building things that make a difference to people. And that will be there no matter what happens to the crypto market. And that's why we're not impacted. We're not fearful about what happens with crypto. We're not impacted by the crypto market and by FUD in general. I mean, the reality is that there's been no FUD that's true. There's been no FUD that's impactful or, true in any capacity. Whether it's the FUD about us mishandling KYC, which we disproved last week, or whether it's the FUD that we copied MIT App Inventor, which again we've disproved many, many times, we've discussed many, many times. So yeah, I think that we're excited. If you can't tell from my demeanor today, we're excited, tremendously excited by what we've built. And it would be great if it was a bull market out there. It would be great if the community shared that sentiment and weren't gripped by fear. But we're not gripped by fear, right? And if I'm not gripped by fear, then I don't think you guys have anything to worry about. We're tremendously excited about the future, and we're making decisions to actively invest in the future of the project and the future of the company. Like I said, I'm in Cambridge next week, interviewing senior developers, people who've graduated from the University of Cambridge, one of the best universities in the world, with degrees in computer science and mathematics, that have worked at Microsoft Research, for example, and not junior developers. I mean, I'm talking about people who are in their 50s, who have years and years and years of software development experience. And have managed DHL development teams at DHL and other places. So, we're 1,000. We believe in what we're doing 1,000%. And to add to that, I'm funding the project out of my own pocket, right? From profits from other companies. So yeah, I fully believe about that. Elite member says, show us some code. You can go to github.com/sparkster.me and have a look at some code. It's all there for you to see. So another question, how does the ETH price bloodbath affect the price of the SPRK token or Sparkster's token? Well, I don't think that the two are necessarily anything to do with each other. However, all alts tend to correlate with the, with the movement of ETH and the movement of Bitcoin. But if you think about it, the project is completely independent from ETH, from the perspective that, what we do and our successes have nothing to do with what's going on in ETH. So the real question to ask yourself is, is what we're building, is the opportunity, is what we've built and the opportunity ahead of us, and the team that is building this, is that, what's that worth? What do you value that to be? And so, that's kind of my perspective on it. I don't think the two are correlated. When will Sparkster release a wallet? Elite member is asking. We are not releasing a wallet because we're not holding our own tokens. We're not hosting our own tokens. They are ERC20 tokens. However, there will be a contract for staking, of course. Patrick has no questions. He's saying he's very confident that we'll do our best to develop Sparkster to its fullest and bring solutions to society. I appreciate that. Thank you, Patrick. And I appreciate your support. You're one of the enduring members that have been a strong supporter of what we're doing from the very, very beginning. If I'm not mistaken, you were at the pitch at Ian Bellina's event in Amsterdam. So thank you for being a supporter from the very beginning. I appreciate it very much. Thank you, Charlie, for being part of our community. And Crypto FOMOs, thank you. I guess maybe this is the end of questions. So thank you, everyone. Have a lovely weekend. More code is coming. We are on track to deliver the network at the end of the year. We're still in functional testing, I might add, right? So, that's where we are. So between now and the end of the year, we hope to get that testing complete, the network deployed, and look forward to you guys participating in this network. Thank you for all of your support. There's a lot more to come. This is just the beginning. And I'll be here with you every week for the foreseeable future, I think. Take care, guys. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.